Tappy Chat, Tappy Chat.
Hi everybody, welcome to Tappy Chats. My name is Miss Alex and I run Tappy Toes in Forest Hill. It's a baby toddler dance school, and from this I have found that often the most valuable parts of a class are the chats that parents have before and afterwards. And it's grown into this, blossomed into this podcast where we can just have a bit more of a lengthy chat. We're currently staring down the barrel of Christmas, which is every parent's kind of nightmare, really. So we're in the thick of it. We're about to get into that festive period. So I thought, let's just get a quick podcast from a completely different perspective. It's time for dads to chat back. Welcome to Dad Chat, the first ever Dad Chat. I'm completely outnumbered here with dads. It's going to be brilliant. I'm going to come in hot and get a little bit of a perspective for you from the world of parenting fathers. So, hi, dads. Welcome to Dad Chat.
Hey,
Hi,
Hey.
Alex.
You're all really subdued and quiet at the minute. I'm
The
waiting.
caffeine's not kicked in yet.
Yeah, we're early in the morning, a couple of days before Christmas. So yeah, I feel your pain. Introducing everyone here, we have Iridian Turner, also known as my husband. Hello. He's hiding downstairs away from the kids. They're up here with me. So yeah, you know, you're parent free at the minute. We have Michael over here. Michael is also a dad of two, but has a girl and a boy combo. We have two boys, so a slightly different perspective there. And Gary, also a father of two boys. Hey guys.
Hiya.
hey,
Hiya.
All right, so we're roughly the same age kids, actually. We're looking at 3, 6, 4, 1. Is that right? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So we're basically early years. I thought it might be nice to kind of bring us all together and have a little chat. If we could just go around the virtual room and give me one word that describes being a dad, one word that sums it up for you at the moment, bearing in mind it's the festive season. Go.
Full
Brilliant.
on.
yeah, unrelenting.
Yeah, maybe exhausting in there as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I feel your pain. It's so hard, dads. But is it really? Is it? So tell us, what is one thing that, let's start at the very beginning when you first discovered that you were going to be a dad, um I don't know, what did no one prepare you for? What was the secret that no one said? What was the one thing that you didn't expect to come out of being a dad? Ooh.
I don't know. There are so many factors in this, but obviously there's the emotional, the physical, the hormonal, the relationship side of things. I think on the relationship side of things, it vastly changes the way that um, you, purely from a practical point of view, divides the load within the house. Obviously during pregnancy, there are various things that over the course of it, from a physical point of view, become more difficult for mums. There is a need to step up and be, don't want to say more, but certainly to a lot of the things that become second nature or you know for want of a better word, lazy in your life and what have you, become far more prevalent and far more obvious. And then obviously with the arrival of your tiny little friend, there's a coffee being made right next to me. The lovely sound of hot steam. There is certainly a little bit of a feeling of uselessness almost. You are there. There are so many things that you can do, but there's so many things that are completely out of your wheelhouse, and in certain ways, it's quite humbling.
You can't do the important stuff, right? Which is keep the baby alive. That's what mum has to do,
yeah,
right? And like
100%.
you're just around the edges trying to stay out of trouble and trying to
Yeah,
support
you're the
her.
scaffolding around
Yeah.
the big works, as it were. And
I wouldn't go calling a new mum big works. I don't think that's don't know. I don't know if you guys are planning any more, but I wouldn't advise that. I don't think.
gags that end up on the editing room floor. But yeah, you really do have to take a step back and realize that you are something part of something a lot bigger, and a lot more fragile. That you can't, you can give every bit of support in the world that you can, but there's a particularly with the way that your own self you realize that in the grand scheme of things, you are very, very little. That'd be one of my first takeaways.
Yeah, I mean the thing for me was kind of similar to that is that going back to like what people don't tell you. Like we were quite late having kids amongst our friend group. So we had some friends of ours that had like 8, 9, 10 year olds when we had our first. And so, they told us, yeah, you're not going to get to sleep in the first year. Don't try and do anything apart from raise the kid, just get through it. So we kind of had that. But I think what I didn't get was you don't realize how subconsciously selfish you live your life before you've got kids.
Yeah,
Like, I don't do anything now without considering the impact on the boys. Not even like, will it have a positive or negative impact? Often it's just like, can I even physically do this thing? Or do I have time to do it? And there's all the tropes like, oh, what did you even spend your time doing before you had kids and all this kind of stuff. But that is definitely something I didn't realize is that, we did the same thing that I think a lot of parents, particularly that kind of have kids in their 30s, do, which is they're like, we've got a good life, we've got things we like to do, we've got interests and activities and that kind of thing. And we convinced ourselves, yeah, he'll come along and we'll put him in the pram and we just carry on doing all the stuff we did before. And, if we're out past his bedtime, he'll sleep in the pram, it'll be fine. And then you realize that you are delusional. And, like, yes, you can break the routine, but you will pay the iron price for it, right?
yeah,
And it's just that kind of, I didn't appreciate exactly how much of a complete change in how I perceived my place in the world. I'm like, it's quite a twee kind of phrase, but it actually works. I was told you stop being the picture and you become the frame.
yeah,
And I think that was the big thing for me that I didn't really appreciate is exactly how much my life's not about me anymore. I'm not saying that like some kind of altruistic, like I'm some great dad. I'm selfish at times, everyone is, but I think it's really kind of made me approach life completely differently.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it was not so much not being told things. It was very much sort of trying to figure out um, all the information that we were told by our family and friends and people who had kids, and then from Bump and Baby and NCT classes, it was you need to do this, you'll need to do that, and then all of a sudden, with the first one particularly, this baby arrives, and I remember being sat at home the first night at home with him and his bassinet on the table, both of us sat on the sofa going, what do we do now? How do we
Yeah.
keep this thing alive? And it's sort of
yeah,
all that information goes out of your head, and it's just a focus on actually, do you know what? Just got to get through the days, and it's a lot of trial and error, and
Mm.
just trying to figure out how it works best for you versus what everybody else tells you and how they do it. We've got friends who, a bit like Gary said, they sort of just seem to just take their kids and off they go on adventures and do other things, and other ones who are just sort of bunkered at home. And yeah, just finding what works best for you, I think, was the big challenge early doors. And it was we were given so much information. How much of that was actually relevant to us, I don't know.
Yeah, we did so we did the kind of again a similar kind of thing. Uh, we over informed ourselves. We did like NCT and we did in the there's something called the group or something. It was like a local midwife led thing in the part of South London we were living in. And we did that. So we did two of those, and read all the books and all of this kind of thing. And I thought it was really interesting the difference between NCT and this other group, which is covering the same information, but the way they covered it was completely different, and also the demographics of the two groups were completely different. And there was like one group that was a lot more kind of bougie, and we're like, oh yeah, these are our people. These are our people. And actually, as it turned out, um, it was the other group, the NCT group that we actually bonded with way more and had way more in common with because like having kids is it's the people that are kind of at 2 in the morning going, this is really hard. I don't know what I'm doing. And
Yeah, the
that group
WhatsApp
was
group
far
saying how
more
much poo can be
honest.
inside a child. It's
Yeah, yeah. That group was far more honest about
Yeah.
what they were going through, and the other group, I think, was kind of keeping up appearances more. And I think, this is it. You do have those moments at 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon or any time when you're just like, I have no idea what am I meant to do to keep this creature alive.
Mm.
And like, and for us, like ours was elevated up an extra level because when our first was born, he was very, very poorly and he was in hospital for quite a while, in and out of hospital for about 2, 3 months, which adds a whole extra kind of layer of stress, and they definitely don't prepare you for that. Although I will say the NHS were absolutely incredible, but yeah, there's no preparing for that. You just kind of you're literally winging it. And I kind of look back now and I think about my parents, and I'm just like, and I'm the eldest of three in my family, and I'm just like, oh my God, I could have died so easily. You had no idea what you were doing. Like, firstborns have got the roughest.
Well, I do think that's quite an interesting one actually, because we now live in a world of instant information and passing all of that. Every different parenting style, every different whether that be gentle parenting, whether that be looking at the way that we were raised in our generation of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and how our parents were with us, and the information that you get from grandparents, family, friends, etc., who come from a far a very different sort of school of child rearing, and just the sheer weight of info that ends up on you. But then there's also the side of things where you kind of sit back for a moment and you go, children have been born to the human race for hundreds of thousands of years, and we're all sat here in our comfortable little suburban, or in your case, Gary, lovely countryside mansions. Um, it's a farmhouse.
Cold. It's a cold countryside farmhouse as it is at the moment.
Oh,
But you know, there are people from every walk of life, every socioeconomic and cultural background that have successfully raised tiny, helpless humans to adulthood and have gone through all the little hiccups, the bits and bobs, the terrible twos, the three-nager, the absolutely everything starts with no that we're going through at the moment with
Hmm.
with both our 3-year-old and 6-year-old. And there you there is no need to panic, if that makes sense. Everybody gets some version of what you are going through,
mm,
and they get through it, and eventually you have a fully functioning member of society that shares your DNA. It's
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you've met my kids. I've met yours. I think fully functioning is on for any. I've not met yours, Michael, but like ours are borderline functioning. I call mine,
yeah.
but
Um,
like it's I get like what you're saying. Like kind of makes sense. Every one of us is proof of like countless generations that have muddled through. Right? If any of them hadn't, then we wouldn't be here. But it is like the compare and despair online is like I know. My partner, she struggles with that. Like, she compares herself to other parents and sometimes forgets the fact that what you see online is people's highlight reel, not their real life.
mm,
And again, like it's part of why I think like we get on so well with you guys is that we've got boys of the same age, and we have very unvarnished exchanges about the reality of that, and there isn't any kind of pretense about it. And we've been fortunate enough down here to meet some other friends that also are kind of like that. I've recently started watching Motherland. The and like my other half, she won't watch it. She finds it too close to the bone. But like there's characters in that they're like the super put together parents, and I'm like, yeah, I see those at the school. Don't like them.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
that's not my parenting journey.
But do you think that, comparing yourself to your parents, I mean, you're going back a generation. I know certainly with my dad, he went back to work. He was always at work and my mum was always at home with us. Do you think there's a different expectation on dads now? It's a different generation of dadding and we need you to step up more. Mm.
I definitely think so. Yeah, I mean, I think there's it's not even an expectation I feel that's put on me. It's something I
An
want to do.
obligation.
Yeah, it's not an obligation. It's
But it's
something.
a self-projected obligation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I suppose, but obligation makes it sound like something I don't want to do. Whereas it's like I feel very lucky that elders came along a few months before COVID. The nature of my job meant I was working from home quite a lot anyway. Apart from a couple of months after, shortly after he was born, I haven't been to an office in 5+ years now, pretty much, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's brilliant. The kids expect me to be there all the time. They see as much of me as they see of mum. Um, you know, Mum is still the primary caregiver because I am working from home and her work is more kind of flexible. But nonetheless, I'm always there. And I think that particularly in these younger years, that's absolutely priceless. I feel really lucky to be able to do that. Um, I can see a situation where in a few years' time, when they're a bit more independent, where they're in like secondary school, that kind of thing, and they're going to naturally pull away, then that's the time if I want to kind of look at, work that takes me back to an office or something more.
Mm.
But at the moment, like my primary criteria for the work I choose to do is basically if any employer wants me in an office, I won't take the work. So yeah, I don't feel it's an obligation, but I think I do wonder I do look at kind of how we raise the boys and think, God, if I was going to the office from 9 till 5, I would have it a lot easier. But also, how the heck did mums do this single-handed? If you'd be situations where the dad would be leaving to commute in at 7 a.m. and not getting back till the kids are in bed at 7, 8 p.m. Like that is how, frankly.
Yeah, that was probably my family experience growing up. My dad was a civil servant. He was up and out of the house in the morning. Mum took us to school. Mum picked us up from school, and then he came back in the evening. So it was very much everything on mum to everything
Yes.
during the day, rather than dad was working. And then I suppose we had a nice house, we had a nice living with dad's salary, and mum staying at home. Whereas now, I think there's definitely more of an expectation. I keep my other half and I say to each other, we are a two-income household, and we need to be to just pay the mortgage, to pay for everything for the kids.
Yeah.
And she's got, we're both in corporate jobs. I'm field based, but she's office based. So she's got to go in more than I have. But yeah, there's an equal workload that we've got to do at work as well as at home. So it's just
Yes.
sort of come more naturally that we have to just split the workload, and we have to be flexible with the kids in a way that probably, with my mum being at home, able to look after us, and my dad going to work, their division of labour was very different. And yeah, I feel like I have to be more involved in the day to day, and dropping off, picking up the kids, being
Mm.
available if they're sick to stay at home with them, and other bits which maybe my dad wouldn't have done. So it's quite a step change from even one generation, um, in the way of looking after kids and responsibilities that dads take on. It's not that it's a problem to do that at all. Actually, I enjoy it. I like spending time with the kids, and it was certainly something that someone said at work, where your kids will only remember the time you spend with them. Your colleagues, if you leave tomorrow, you'll be replaced, whereas your
Mm.
kids are going to remember everything you do with them. So spending that time with them in the mornings and the evenings and
Yeah.
whenever I can as well during the day if they're around, then it's time to actually enjoy with them as opposed to spend it somewhere else.
Yeah. The other thing that we've got is because of, where we're living now and when we were in London, we didn't have any family nearby. And where we are now, we're still 2 hours from the closest kind of family. So we don't have the ability to call on a grandparent for childcare or anything like that. So, if one of us wants to do something or if something happens, then two kids, two parents, you got to switch to like man marking your kids basically. It's, I kind of see friends of ours here, and then my siblings live more basically in the same village as my mother, and I see how much support they get day to day in the practicalities from grandparents. And I think back to when I was my dad worked in the bank, my mum was a teacher, and my nana was ever present. She was there after school because my mum worked in my primary school, but school finished at 3:15. She didn't finish at 3:15. She had like a couple of hours work to do after that. So my nana would be the presence after school, and then dad would get home at like bedtime pretty much. But that is something that's part of our dynamic is it's a necessity. I don't know whether what it was like for you. You said your mum was at home with you, but with their kind of grandparents and stuff around, or kind of other relatives around, because if I'm not around, my partner is literally it's her and no other support, and I think that's insanely tough.
And we were lucky, I think, growing up as well because we had uncles, aunts, grandparents around. So we're all in one very small area all together,
Yeah,
which is helpful because as you said, it takes a village to raise children. I think they say, and I think my family certainly had that. And then now with our two little ones, we rely quite heavily on my other half's mum to sort of do a lot of heavy lifting. She comes on a Monday and picks the kids up, or my oldest from school, and keeps him for those couple of hours where we don't have after school care for him. Um, so she's always around. She's actually out with him and looking at going to Peppa Pig today. So
Oh,
yeah, she
you
does a lot
dodged
of
a
heavy
bullet.
lifting.
that is a bullet dodged.
Glad I'm doing this.
Yeah, I will
But
not allow the porcine horror into our house. I work very hard to keep that out of this house.
uh, it's
Yeah.
it's got to be done. But yeah, he's off on at the theatre today with his grandma, and and it's sort of we rely on other people to come and help out a little bit as well. So we're lucky in that sense. We've got some friends who have no family at all, and I struggle to think how they do it and juggle it all around when you've got so much else going on. If there was a problem like someone's ill or there's an inset day. Both ours had inset days on 2 different days, so you're taking 2 separate days of leave to look after them. How you juggle it all when it's just the two of you?
Well,
Yeah,
that's kind of our situation somewhat, Alex and I. So the three dads here all work in sort of different dynamics. So Gary works for himself, but has I won't say the luxury, but certainly has the ability to pick and choose projects, and manage his time effectively from home. You, Michael, work for a larger corporate entity and are to an extent at the behest of the bodies that set the schedule. Alex and I are small business owners, and if we don't show up, nothing happens. But we are, to an extent, at the any staffing issues that we have further down the line from us, have the only people that can pick them up are us. And as I am the to give some context, we own a pub and a bar. As I'm the operational side of things, if anything goes wrong on the shop floor, as it were, the only person that is left is Alex. And we live above the pub. I'm only a staircase away, but on a busy night with a sick toddler and a cranky 6-year-old that's struggling or refusing point blank to go to bed, Alex is
What we call
left.
default parent.
Yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, is solo parenting,
Mm.
and the only thing that I can do is be the occasional face running upstairs to go, "Are you being nice to mummy? You've been told this, you've been told that." I don't want to be that absent parent that comes thundering in to do sort of big dad voice because I've only got 5 minutes. But sometimes that's the only bit that of my parenting arsenal that I have when I've got, in some cases, a an equally tired and underfed, undercaffeinated wife um, that is on her own. I have to come in like the crash troops, like the shock troops. And I don't want that to be the memory that my children have, particularly of this, massively transitional period of our lives. Daddy coming running upstairs to go to bed. You were told, and it feels sometimes that I'm boxed into that corner because of my field of work, the tricky time of year. Christmas and sick season are always difficult with young children, but it's a very hard one to navigate, particularly because from Alex's point of view, as the primary caregiver, a lot of the time, she's also the primary disciplinarian. So I either get the big thundering dad voice, or I get the calm, kind, we've settled down a little bit of a moment, and I'm tagging Alex out, and there am I being quote unquote a lovely, sweet, gentle parent because Alex has had the adrenaline rush of actually sort of getting them through the day and has crashed, and I can come in and be the voice of reason. And it's not really fair on her because she's there having said, "But I told you not to do this. You got yourself, you know, mucky, messy, underfed, hurt, etc." And then I come in as the calm daddy. What did we say? We do gentle hands, and it feels a little bit. It feels very unfair. I have to say, Alex is looking.
I put
That
myself on
that
mute
that
for a
winds that
reason.
winds my wife up. That winds my wife up. Sometimes like I'll be upstairs and I'm up in the loft at the moment, and I will be trying to ignore the noise from downstairs, but it'll reach a crescendo, and I'm like right, and I go down, and then probably about 90% of the time, it's out comes the dad voice. That's something they don't tell you. You develop a dad voice. You don't
Yeah.
consciously do it.
Yeah.
The dad voice just comes
Oh,
from you,
whip
right?
the whip crack
Primal,
use of the
Yeah.
name.
And it's the ability to project their full given name, including all middle names, with
Oh
that
yeah.
particular tone. But like I go downstairs and 89% of the time it'll be I'm the disciplinarian, I'm the shock troops, I'm right, stop that right now, right, you on the naughty step, you to your room. And I don't want to be that dad. But sometimes that's what's needed. They need boundaries, they need clear sanctions. But then every now and then, and I don't know where it comes from, I'll go downstairs and she'll be at her wit's end, understandably, and you find this hidden pool of calm, zen patience, and you just go in and you just you calm the whole thing down. And I know she's massively grateful when I do that, but also I think it infuriates her because it's just like I've been fighting these two for the last hour. Like, yeah, how have you come in and done this? And I'm like, I don't know where that came from. That is when I walked through the door. That is not what I was intending to do. I was expecting to come in with a dad voice, and don't know where that came from. But sometimes you get those wins as a dad, and you get to be the dad that you wish you could be all the time. But unfortunately, you know, you you got to be the parent the situation needs, not necessarily the parent you want to be in the situation, right?
Definitely.
Do you think dads talk enough to other dads? This is our eldest who's
Uh,
hijacking my podcast, still in his pajamas at nearly midday. Go
uh,
on.
That's the Christmas holidays for you. In all honesty, definitely not. definitely not. There isn't the network of support. In general, men don't talk enough from a mental health and emotional balance point of view. You know, it can't all be football and computer games and you're right, mate. Good. You know, the classic pub conversation. Um, I think in the early days of newborn, the first 6 months to a year, where um, families and mums, dads are in the trenches together, and as we said, there's the wailing wall of WhatsApp that sort of gives you information. There's a lot more there's a lot more conversation that does go on, but that does kind of fade away. Um, to but by the time your children are 2 and 3, you have friends that are parents, and you don't compare notes in the same way. You've kind of set out your technique, your structure, the way that you do things, and unless you have uh, close friends that are nearby, where you have a relationship that goes beyond parent to parent, there's also child to child. Um, you don't get to spend a, cons a concentrated amount of time around somebody else's parenting
Mm.
approach, and so you don't compare notes. You don't talk
Yeah.
about it, and you just become a dad without um, kind of thinking without looking outside your own boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, like definitely, like like I said, that we did two different NCT kind of groups, and I was really, I'm a pretty social guy, and I was really kind of quite excited about making a new friend group through that, and kind of, you know, getting new friends because as a guy it's tough to make friends. As a guy, once you get out about your early 20s, it's even harder to make friends. Once you're a parent, having the time to make friends is even harder. So there's multiple layers of making it difficult, and I'm aware that like my friend group has shrunk considerably over the years, and even the good friends I have, I talk to them way less frequently just because everyone's life gets busy, right? But I was like really excited with the NCT groups that like, oh great, cool, new bunch and they're not all gonna be my best mates, but like a new group of friends. And it really quickly tailed off. And the dad's WhatsApp group went really quiet really quickly. The mums were still buzzing along. And that was that was like, oh God, that sucked. And then, we moved out to Gloucestershire where we are now, and we started school, and I was like, yeah, right, this is it. Everyone's told me the friends you make at the school gates, you're going to keep those for a long time. Great. And my partner's made loads of really good mum friends. And there's a few dads I get on well with. But in terms of us kind of doing stuff with any kind of regularity, and, I was trying to get them out for a drink before Christmas. And I managed to, out of a class of 20 kids, I managed to get me and two other dads out. And it's just like, I think maybe I'm needy. I don't know, but like it's just that like it seems hard to. I think men find it hard to connect in that way, and it's a shame because we need to in a different way to women do. I think generally painting with fairly broad gender strokes. What we prefer to solve problems, whereas women often like to talk about problems and how it's processed and how you resolve it is different. But again, like I think I kind of I think I was hoping for, particularly also because we moved to this area not really knowing anyone. So like I had no local friend group. So I put a lot of stock in the dads in the school class. And we've got a couple of good friends, but certainly it is we don't talk about the specifics of how we feel and what it's like to be a parent very much. It is even when we do meet up, it tends to be pretty superficial, you know.
Yeah, there's a certain element of the kids get on and we they like each other, we like wine, are we now friends? Sometimes that works wonderfully. You
Well,
Gary,
that's how it's so
and
it
we are
started.
a
That's how
wonderful
how it
example of
started with
this.
us, mate. Right? That's how it
Yeah.
started.
Um,
I think
but
I
yeah,
think I think it goes deeper now. I think.
it
I mean,
does. It does. It does. I've cooked for you. It's official. But it is quite a tricky sort of path to navigate in adulthood in general, but certainly as a parent, so much of your time is dedicated to your children and your own relationships, and in I think it's something we should possibly touch on the way the mum dad relationships in all aspects change and you still love each other, you still care about each other, you're still a couple, but you're also a team, a partnership of whether lifeguards, cooks, kitchen brigades, um, security team, chauffeurs, and a large part of your day-to-day life merges into that, and far less going back to what we were talking about earlier. We'll live our life the way that we used to. We'll have a wonderful tiny DNA accessory that comes to the pub, the restaurant, the holiday with us. It doesn't remain the same. It turns into something wonderful and different, but it doesn't remain the same. And I think um, people that go into early years life with their children believing that none of their life will change and their relationship will not have to mold around the new additions to your household are somewhat blinkered.
it's a naivety. I mean, I think like there's something that I've heard as kind of recommended relationship advice, which is you've got to continue to date your partner, and it's just like how, when, with what energy? And again, part of that is our lack of kind of we haven't got family nearby, so getting out for an evening is very hard. But it is just like you give like my other half in particular, she gives everything to the boys. Her nature is that she's one of these kind of she'll set herself on fire to keep other people warm. Is her kind of that's how she is. So when she's got her own flesh and blood, that she leaves nothing on the field at the end of the day, right? So you kind of then get the kids down, and the idea of doing anything other than just crashing on the sofa is you couldn't we were sitting down one day last week and I said if someone came in here with 5 grand now and said you've got to go upstairs, put your good clothes on and go out to a nightclub till 2 a.m., I would not take the money. I would run them out of the house. No, it's just like your your relationship changes and what you do changes, and you do. I think I'm told it gets not necessarily easier, but different as the kids get older and more independent. But like at the moment, it's all about the kids, and our relationship is, not in a bad way, but understandably, it's taken a back seat because our relationship has been going for 15 plus years, and it's strong. Well, unless I'm going to find out something from her, surprisingly, I think it's strong, and the priority at the moment is the kids, and yeah, the relationship doesn't get the attention it probably we'd both like to give it, but we see this as a phase that we're in that hopefully, as the kids get a bit older, we'll get more of a chance to be husband and wife rather than mum and dad.
My wife said to me once, it was if you can find 10, 15 minutes a day to talk about something that isn't the kids or work, you're doing well as a couple, particularly when they're so young. So it's for us, it's trying to find that time to actually have conversations which aren't just functional. Did we do this with the kids, or did this work at work, or just about other things, about life in general, which is incredibly challenging when you've got so much else going on. So it's finding those moments in a day, and when you can do. Yeah, we're lucky, as I said. My mother-in-law is great and takes the kids occasionally. We're able to sort of get out for an evening out every few months or something, which is still great considering. But finding those sort of moments I think is really difficult, particularly when you're so focused on kids and when they're so young and they still need a lot of stuff. You can't just yeah, it feels also we don't really want to just drop them off and say, oh, here you go, look after them, while we go and do something else when they need so much, because they are tricky to manage. Um, so yeah, I think for us, it's very much trying to find that 10, 15 minutes a day just to have a conversation about something just that isn't about just sort of making the household run.
And that's the thing, right? Is that if we do make it out for lunch, if the kids are in school and nursery and stuff, and we manage to steal a bit of time away from work and go out for lunch, invariably we end up talking logistics, or we end up talking about the kids because
Yeah.
you talk about your experiences, right? And at the moment, we don't really have much going on outside of running the house and raising the kids. So it's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you haven't got time to do anything else, you've got nothing else to talk about, which doesn't spur any interest in anything else, and it kind of, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, it's still lovely just to have a bit of time just to sit across the table from each other without having to wonder what the hell are they climbing now. But it's yeah, you do go out and you just go, oh, we've been here for like an hour and all we've done is talk about the kids. I mean, and it like what we did is we managed to make it away for our 10th wedding anniversary last summer went away for a night, and it took about a good 6 or 8 hours from when we left and got in the car and drove to this hotel and did stuff, dinner and all this kind of thing. And then we actually managed to kind of switch our switch gears in our heads, and actually then we got to spend some proper quality time. Like we kind of threw off the mum and dad thing for a little bit, but it took a while to shake it, and then the next evening we were straight back into it. But it's good to know that it was kind of good to go, oh yeah, underneath all the layers of exhaustion and logistics and bodily fluids of the kids and all of this kind of stuff. Oh no, we're still there. We are still there, and one day we'll make it out again. I think the danger is when then the fear is that you kind of do this for a long time and you neglect yourselves and your relationship, and you come out the other side and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's gone. Shit. That's the fear, right?
Yeah, it was funny actually. So we for my last birthday, my other half booked. We both took the day off work. Kids were in school and nursery, and she booked us to go for breakfast and then an escape room at midday.
Cool.
But it was an hour of adult time that we're working together and like trying to solve all these problems and just talking and having conversations about anything but the kids. Really, we came out of it and went, that was really good and energizing that we've done something adult that isn't isn't
Um,
isn't kid involved, and it just was sort of it was like before pre-kids sort of activity, which was just
I'm stealing that idea. I'm stealing that one.
it was it was it was,
I
it was
feel like our
really
life
good.
is an escape room or a panic room type.
It was just it
Wow.
was just it was just a really nice. It was an hour of like solving puzzles and doing stuff and just being sort of completely sort of separate from work or kids or anything else, and actually came out of it thinking, oh, that was actually really nice, just an hour
And it's
of
something, yeah, I guess it's something you do together. You're both in it. And it's actually also the other thing. It must be nice to spend an hour and actually achieve something, right? Because how often,
we achieved it with about 40 seconds to spare.
yeah, because like
It
how
wasn't.
often as a parent do you actually get to the end of a day and go, well, I achieved what I wanted to today? That doesn't really happen.
I guess they take your phones away as well, so you can't sit there and just look through photographs that both of you have seen
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, there was no, there
You
was
one of you was there when you took the photograph, the other one was holding the child. We both know what's in that shot. We know what they look like. But you still go through every date night, dinner, or what have you, looking at images of your little ones. And it's completely normal. But
Stockholm syndrome is what it is,
yeah.
mate.
Oh, Dads, it's lovely to hear. This is great. I've just sat back and let you guys go for it. It's interesting to hear Dad's chat for a change. To surmise, if what do you think? What type of dad do you want your kids to remember you as, Ridian?
Um, So I had a complicated relationship with my father. I loved him deeply. He passed this summer. He was smart and driven and chaotic and kind. And the main thing that I would want my boys to, you know, 30, 40 years from now think of when they think of me is somebody who was present and somebody who was kind. There will be times that I have to be the disciplinarian, but if I can outweigh that in the sort of the memory balance game, as it were, with somebody that was kind and provided them with the time and the info and the support and the comfort that they needed, that would be the ideal for me.
Yeah, I think yeah, being present is a massive thing for me. Also, I think the thing for me is that, the more you kind of see about the mental health challenges for boys now and young men and things, I really want them to see me as someone they can talk to. I want to be available and, yes, I will be their father. There'll be always be things they're not going to want to discuss with me. Um, but I want them to be able to talk to me and see me as someone that's kind of got some useful information, some useful experience to impart to them, whether they want to hear it or not. But yeah, I want them to feel that they can approach me about anything, and I'll help them. You know.
It's funny that present was the first word that came to mind for me as well. It's funny that that was the thing we all mentioned. I'm not sure, I don't know whether my dad would have, if he was asked the same question, whether that would have been the first thing he said, which is interesting in probably the sort of dynamic changes in a generation. But yeah, I want to be around supportive, and I think you want your kids to be able to talk to you, and then also where you need them, you're there for them, and that when not, you can sort of take a step back and allow them to sort of become their own people and develop their own things over time. Yeah, it's really tricky. You just want to try and encourage and nurture, and then you sort of hope for the best that they sort of turn out the way that you want them to, but they will turn out the way that they're going to be in some respects, because there's so many other factors, and yeah, you can only do what you can to help them.
Yeah, my other half says roots and wings, strong roots, and and then give them the wings to fly where they want to go. And I think, yeah, I just want to always be that kind of that solid, safe kind of place they can always come back to, whether with their concerns and their worries or their victories and their happiness, to share with me, whatever it might be. I just want to kind of be that constant for them, and that goes back to being present, right? Being present, and both physically but also like emotionally.
Oh, guys. Oh, this has turned out to be a really lovely chat. Thank you very much for bearing your hearts and souls on this first ever dad chat. I love it, and let's do more of it.
It's
Thank
been
you very
great.
much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's been really
Thanks,
lovely.
Alex.
Yeah, to have a little chat, and Godspeed for the festive season. May it bring you a little bit of time and a lot of
Everybody's getting
wine.
presents from the garage forecourt.
Yeah. After,
Thanks,
after
thanks
this,
That's the
I'm
icing,
I'm
Alex.
I'm going to dive into a vat of Quality Street after this Scrooge McDuck style.
Alex.
Wow, wow.
And now and depending on this podcast demographic, that reference will either land or it won't.
We got it. We got it.
You certainly have, guys. That was fantastic.
It's Tappy Chat.